Thank you, Mr President. I rise to speak in support of the referral of the bill to committee and thank the member for Murchison for bringing this motion for our consideration. Mr President, given the rushed and unexpected nature with which this decision has been foisted upon industry participants and the Parliament, I absolutely support moves to more fully consider the issues and impacts of an industry shutdown before any such decision to shut it down comes before this Parliament for consideration. I empathise with Greyhound industry participants and totally condemn the government's lack of consultation in coming to this decision, as well as its deceit of and disrespect for the industry in its communication of the decision. Mr President, we've heard discussion about the industry through this debate today, and we've heard reference to statistics about animals being euthanised in the industry. And I just want to say, Mr President, that I know industry participants are listening. I know there's a lot of participants in the industry who do the right thing, Mr President, and care deeply for the dogs that they race and rehome, and our words in this place have an impact on people. I think it's important that we remember that. Mr President, I feel like it's grossly unfair to demonise everyone involved in the industry, and I want to extend my support to those who are listening to the debate today and who feel like these attacks are attacks on their character, and they feel that deeply. I want them to be assured that not everyone in this place thinks that you are immoral and cruel. Mr President, I understand the sense of purpose and connection that for many who participate in the industry feel. I understand the sense of purpose and connection that participation in the industry provides. And I see that many people care for their dogs well and treat them well. I know that listening to this debate is upsetting for some people, and I'm sorry that they have to hear it in this way, without having had the opportunity to explain and or defend themselves. In fact, this morning we heard Claire, a participant, explain to us just how and why 3 of her dogs were included in the statistics when it comes to euthanisation of dogs, and in fact that they weren't put to death early, Mr President. One was a 12-year-old that was having grand mal seizures, another 14-year-old that had heart failure. They were not put to death early, but they are included in those statistics because, as an industry registered participant who still has those dogs in her care, that they are included because they are dogs who are homed with a participant, despite the fact they are no longer racing. Mr President, I feel it is entirely reasonable that industry participants would seek to derail this decision, to have it reversed. It is entirely reasonable that industry participants ought to be able to at least have their case heard before the decision is made. That is absolutely their right, and we would expect that of almost any decision we consider in this place. And certainly hearing from industry participants is necessary for me in properly performing my role here. Mr President, to add insult to injury, the government is trying to rush this shutdown bill through this week, not only the last sitting week for the year, but the same week that the 90th Hobart 1000 Greyhound race is being held in my electorate tomorrow night. I mean, talk about kicking people while they're down.
Almost like fighting for a stadium in the 100th anniversary.
The Premier betrayed the trust of industry participants by breaking the commitment he made during the July election campaign that the industry had the full support of the government. And just 5 months later, the government is trying to put the nail in the coffin at a time when the industry is celebrating a significant milestone. Mr President, at this time, the shutdown of the industry is a policy position of the government. It has not yet been decided by the Parliament. It is a decision for the Parliament, not for the government, not for the Minister, and certainly not for the Racing Integrity Commissioner. Making something unlawful is a decision for the Parliament, and it needs to be a very carefully considered decision. While I appreciate the concerns raised by the Commissioner in the briefing this morning in relation to animal welfare and the impact should this bill be delayed, to that I say, well, the government has created this mess, and it's up to the government to appropriately regulate under the reforms we recently passed to monitor and mitigate these concerns over the period while this decision is fully considered, should this be referred to committee today. Mr President, I pride myself on rigorously scrutinising matters before the Parliament, including hearing from all key stakeholders and analysing the detail, and I feel I owe that to those affected by this decision. I owe that to my community. There simply has not been sufficient time to do the work required to fully inform a decision that has significant impacts not only on the welfare of animals, but on the welfare and livelihood of people too. I appreciate the comments by the member for Rumney regarding the limited capacity for us to engage on this issue over the past month since the bill was first tabled, just around 1 month ago. I think I've had one day off in the last 5 weeks, Mr President. Saturday, when I was absolutely exhausted, and even then I was trying to catch up in replying to texts and calls that I've received over the last week. So, Mr President, I will not support the bill if it is debated today. I simply cannot say that in all good conscience I've given the issue due consideration or that there's been due process afforded to those affected. So I support the referral to committee.